Excellent. All right. Let's go back one. First mistake. All right. So today we're going to talk about the Pear Deck add-on for Google Slides. Some of you have been trained in this already here at Muscle Community Schools. Some of you, I've done some sessions before. Some of you have been using it for a while. I see Miss Smithson's on the call today, and she's made sure that we have the Pear Deck Premium version for all students and teachers at Muncie Community Schools. So we're going to go through this session today and show you some of the bells and whistles that come along with that Pear Deck Premium and the things you can do in your classroom. There will be opportunities for other training from Pear Deck themselves. They host lots of different training things. We're getting them our teachers' emails so they can send you information. And there's tons of information, videos, and trainings you can access on their website too. But I felt like I needed to do one specifically for us. That way you have a good go-to, a person you can ask questions about here at Muncie Community Schools for Pear Deck. So without any further ado, I'm going to start my little agenda here on my other screen. And the first thing I want to talk about is what is Pear Deck? And essentially what Pear Deck is allows us to take our Google Slides and make it interactive. So we can take the slideshows that many of us are already teaching with or use, and we can put student response types in there. So now students can not only just follow the slideshow on your screen, they can follow it on their device, and they can answer questions. And that's obviously for engagement purposes. We don't want students just to follow the screen. We want them to take part in the presentation too. My favorite part of this is that it's a Google Slide add-on. You can add it to presentations you already have made. You're using a piece of software you already know how to use. I've hosted lots of Google Slides presentations this year, and this is really nice because if you've attended those or if you've been using Google Slides, we're just adding one more little tool you have to those Google Slides. My other favorite part about this, other than the fact we can add them to the ones we already have, I guess that's it. But when we first started using Pear Deck a few years ago, the free version, I had some of my science teacher friends who've been given the same presentations year after year after year after year. And it was kind of cool. They didn't have to do anything different. They could literally pop in some Pear Deck interactivity and change the presentation they've had forever without having to reinvent the wheel. And I know that's a big thing for teachers nowadays, is not having to go create new things. So check my email one more time. Good to go. Let's get into this. I am going to get off this screen. I was going to share this screen with you, but I think we've since resolved this. So Pear Deck is a Google Slide add-on, and you can go to add-ons on Google Slide and add it to your Google Slides. But about an hour ago, I think Jonathan pushed this out to every single device, so you shouldn't even have to go look for it anymore. When you open your Google Slides, Pear Deck should be there, loaded up, ready for you, and I'll show you how to access that here in a bit. Let's close this screen, and let's go to this screen. So this is the Pear Deck website, peardeck.com. Now, full disclosure, I don't really use Pear Deck from this website often. You can go into Pear Deck and access the Google Slides you've made, or you can go to Google Slides and access the ones that you've used to make Pear Decks out of, so that you can kind of go into it either way. But I pointed out this page on purpose because I've been playing around with this today. And there's lots of stuff on here that I didn't realize existed, lots of resources and tools for you. So first of all, in getting started, there's all kinds of information there on how to use Pear Deck. But I really like this teacher resources tab. And I point this out today because if I don't give you enough information today, or you want to hear it over again, this resource tab is money. You can come in here and explore content, and there's some templates already made in here. There's great help videos. They've done exactly what I would do. Take all different granular parts of Pear Deck and break them down and make a video for each individual little question, individual little thing. So small little snippets for you. I like to make those, and I went to the website today and I go, they've already done that. So I don't even need to do that. All those little singular tasks, there's already videos for. Also, in this teaching resources, there's a how-to handbook you can get, and there's some training and webinars already available that you can sign up for too. I almost signed up for one today just to kind of hear from Pear Deck, but it was at 3 o'clock, and I was hosting this one at 3:30. So you can go in there, and then there's a lot of good information in the knowledge base. I also like over here, I believe it was remote learning resources are pretty nice. So I just wanted to point out there's lots of great stuff in here. The explore content is where there's some templates already made. Yeah, I'm glad I pointed this out. They call it the orchard. Get it? It's a sort of a pear thing there. I like this because, again, teachers, I like to create things. I like to make things, but some don't. Some want something that's already made, and then they just want to edit it and customize it. And that's kind of a theme of Pear Deck. That's a cool thing about it, is you can take something that's mostly made and edit it and put your own little spin on it. You don't have to make it from scratch. So here's some templates they already have made. All things I like about this Pear Deck website. All right. Next thing I want to show you in this Pear Deck website is if you come up here to teacher login, this is where you will sign in. And we basically sign in with Google, just like everything else. And mine already popped right to my Pear Deck dashboard here. There we go. So mine already popped into my Pear Deck dashboard here. So in here, we can see we can create a lesson right here from the Pear Deck website. Now, I'll tell you what it's going to do. It's going to open Google Slides for you. And as I said before, I like to go straight to Google Slides, but this will just open a Google Slide straight from their website. So you can access it however you like. You'll also see down here all my different Pear Decks that I've made. I can go to my Google Drive, as I said, and access those, or I can open them up from right here and present them as Pear Decks. All right, so let's just go into Google Slides and show you what's going on. So I've opened a basic Google Slide today, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and make a mini little Pear Deck just to show you the different kinds of questions and show you the different kind of templates. We'll present it as a teacher. I'll show you how to look at it as a student, and we'll kind of go from there. But these slides are so quick and easy to make that we can actually literally make it together. I didn't have to have one pre-made for you. I have some pre-made, and I'll show you some examples of how you can get really creative with them, but I want to show you the base features, the base functions of how to do that right now. So, as I said before, you should have the Pear Deck add-on already put into your Google, and you should also have the Pear Deck extension. I think Jonathan added those for everybody today. So when you jump into Google Slides, you got the little Pear Deck logo right here. We can click this bad boy, and it's going to open up my Pear Deck toolbar to the right side of my screen. You can take a presentation you've already made, open up the Pear Deck toolbar and add to it, or you can do what I'm doing here, take a blank presentation, open up the toolbar, and start from there. So when I open up the toolbar, you'll see first thing I want to point out is the different question types over here. Text, choice, number, website, draw, and draggable. And so that's what we're going to play with today. And I'm going to start by making a text question. So I put text on here so I know what kind of question it is. And what a text question is the students will literally be able to type a response to it. So I'm going to start with something basic. What is your favorite color? Hopefully I spell everything correct. And so whatever I put on the slides, pictures, videos, text, all that sort of stuff, when I come over here and add a text question now, it's going to bring up the menu for me. It's going to add this interactive question. And you'll see this little bar down here at the bottom. It says this particular slide is a text response question. So when I present it, it will show my slide that says, what is your favorite color? And then it's going to give the kids a place to add this text, what their favorite color is. So that's a text question. All right, I am going to come over here and I'm going to make a new slide. And actually, I don't like that. Oh, sorry. All right, I'm going to duplicate the slide I have already here because I like that font and everything. I'm going to get rid of my little bar at the bottom, my little Pear Deck bar. And now I'm going to add a multiple choice question. This is a choice question. And so I could ask the same sort of question here. I can put whatever I want on this screen. And we'll show you right now, this is kind of boring and basic. I'm going to show you some templates later. I just want you to show you the basic way in which you can make a question. What is your favorite color? I'm going to choose a choice question. So the choice question is going to bring up a menu because there's a little bit more than just adding text on here. We have to put choices. So now I'm going to put blue, I'm going to put red, and I'm going to put yellow. Update the slide. It's going to put that Pear Deck bar at the bottom. And now we have a slide in which the students are going to choose their favorite color. All right, so we have a text slide and a choice slide. Again, kind of basic right now. I'll show you the templates here in a second. Let's duplicate this layout again. And now on this slide, I want to make a number question. So I'm going to call this a number slide, and I might put something like, what is 3 plus 3? Or I might even just put a problem itself. 3 plus 3 equals. There we go. So in a number response, the students simply type a number that responds to that question. So let's go add a number response. And when I present this, the student will have a box where they can type a number for the answer to this. And again, you can get more creative and a little more deep than I have here, just trying to show you the basics. Really, really great for math. If you think about a math presentation, a math lesson where you're doing some problems together, you've always get the one kid that answers the question every time. This way, every student could answer, and you could go through, and if you see common wrong answers, that could be a teachable moment as well. I'm going to add another slide. And on this slide, I am going to make it a website slide. Now, what website slides will do is they'll simply open the website that you have students, you want students to go to. In my case, I am going to have it open a Flipgrid. So I'm going to come over here. There's my website slide. I'm going to click website. It's going to ask me for the site you want to open. I'm going to paste in a Flipgrid that I've made. And if you've not heard of Flipgrid or used Flipgrid before, we can talk about that later. I've got some PDs for that as well. But I want my kids to go to this Flipgrid and record themselves. So now when the students go to this particular slide, it's going to give them a chance to open Flipgrid. Again, we'll get to see all this work here in a second. Next slide. Let's duplicate again. Let's use the drawing slide. Probably one of my favorites here. So let's do a drawing slide. And I didn't provide anything here to draw. So I'm going to put drawing on here. There we go. So what the drawing slide does is it means that when students get this slide, they have their cursor. They can also add a text box to solve a problem. So this might be good for a math question too. Let's add a text box on here. And let's do this 3 plus 3 question again. And the students can actually solve this using their cursor, their finger if they're using their iPad, or their finger if they have a touchscreen Chromebook. And then the last slide, let's add a draggable slide. So let's come down here. All right. And let's make this draggable. Now, what a draggable slide does is you literally get to drag an icon where you want it to go. So I might put drag to the picture that represents your favorite food. Now, I probably should have put pictures of food on here. I'm not going to. Let's pretend they are. I'll show you some templates here in a second. Let's click draggable. The little bar is going to pop up here at the bottom. We can make it a dot that the students drag. You can make multiple dots. You can change the colors of the dots. You can do all kinds of things on here, but we've now made a draggable slide. All right, so in a nutshell, those are the basic types of questions we can add. Text, students type right on the slide. Choice, students have a multiple choice question. Number, they have a place where they can respond with a number. Website links them to a website. Drawing, they can draw using their cursor or finger if it's a touchscreen device. And draggable, they're dragging an icon around. So let's look at some templates that are already made. Now, again, I show you this because you can put whatever pictures you want here, whatever backgrounds, whatever questions, whatever you'd like, and start from scratch. However, maybe you're not feeling that creative. Maybe you want to take something that's already made and simply add to it. So let's take text up here. And instead of just using our basic slide here, I'm going to go to the right and it says our template library. This is probably one of my favorite things about Pear Deck too, is you come in here, they have beginning of the lesson slides, during the lesson slides, end of the lesson slides, critical thinking, social emotional learning, example questions for different subjects, math, science, social studies, stuff just for little kids, all kinds of stuff in here. So I'm going to come over here to littles. And I'm going to go down through here and look for a text slide. And there might not be a text slide. No, not for littles. They didn't want them to actually have to write. So let's go beginning of the lesson. And there's a text slide right here. What did you learn from the homework? So here's a template that they already have made right here with the question, what did you learn from the homework? I'm going to select that. So now when I do that, it's just going to simply insert that Pear Deck slide right into my presentation. So I have my basic one that I made, and I have theirs they already made with this nice little logo, this nice little blue background, and these nice little words here. You'll notice the bottom it says student response. Students write your response. So when students actually do this, they'll get to type response. Well, here's something cool about this. Let's say you don't like this picture over here. Get rid of it. Add a different one if you'd like. Let's undo that. Let's say you don't like the background. Change the background of the slide. You don't like the question. You're like, I want a text, but that's not really what I want. I want, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite color? Everything about this slide is editable. The only thing we don't want to do with their template is take off this bar at the bottom. This bar at the bottom is what says this is a Pear Deck interactive slide. Let's go to choice. There's our basic choice. Let's find a better choice question to ask. Let's look for a during the lesson one. Actually, there we go, right here. Let's click and add this slide. And there we go. Do you feel comfortable sharing your thoughts out loud right now? And so students will have a multiple choice option on this. This is already one that's created by Pear Deck. I can go in here and easily edit this. I can go in here and change the pictures, change all those things I need to change about the question, as long as I don't take off this bar at the bottom. Let's go to number. Let's add a number slide here. I like some of the ones I saw in math. There we go. There's a multiple choice. Maybe I didn't. Number slide. No. Totals, no. Let's find a cool one. Sounds like I'm going to have to go back to math. Okay. So let's go to math. I saw number one down here. We'll take, it says, solve the problem and type a numerical answer. So I would put a problem right here in the middle. They've already given you a spot to put that, and the students are going to get a place to answer. Remember, we can do our basic one, or we can use their templates and change up the questions as much as we want if we're not feeling creative. Now, there's the website one we did together. I found a really cool website one earlier in social studies, I thought. I liked it because it used Google Earth. There we go. Website slide. Website slide. I'm going to go ahead and add this one. And again, mine went to Flipgrid, but this particular website one sends the kids to Google Earth, which I thought was kind of cool. You'll say, find a certain place on Google Earth. Again, you can change this, edit this, do whatever you want, as long as you don't take off the Pear Deck bar here at the bottom. Let's go to a drawing slide. And I like this one right here. Oh, no, I like the one in math. Drawing slide. Here we go. Let's add a math drawing slide. This one's kind of cool because this is something you could see yourself doing in math, where you have to solve multiple problems, or you want the kids to draw dimensions, or you want them to point to a specific number, or draw a line, or do whatever. And so students are going to be able to draw on this. They're going to be able to draw with their cursor or add text box. Really, really easy. And now let's go back down to a draggable social studies. And I like this one. I like this one because it has them drag all kinds of symbols. We've put on a map of the United States. There we go. There we go. There's a map of the United States. I'm sorry, map of the world. And again, you can change this picture. Every single bit of this is editable as long as we don't take off the little icons at the bottom. We can create our own draggable, or we can take a template they already have made and do it. All right, so I've showed you how to basically make these types of questions, but now I need to show you how they look as a student. It'll start making a lot more sense when we do that. So I'm going to come over here to the right of my screen. Now, here's one thing you need to know about Pear Deck. When you're doing Pear Deck, you're not actually going to present from Google Slides. Now, this is a kind of a cool thing. Because we're not actually presenting from Google Slides, iPads work beautifully with Pear Deck as well. Sometimes iPads and Google Slides, so because it's a whole nother piece of software, but we're actually just presenting from the web. So I'm going to come over here to the right, and it says Start Lesson. It's going to open up my Pear Deck account here as a teacher, and I can make this a student-paced activity, or I can make this an instructor-paced activity. Let me explain the difference in those two for you. Student-paced is kind of cool because maybe it's a virtual learning day. Maybe it's a day that you have the kids working on their own in class. Student-paced means you give it to them, you assign it to them in Schoology, you give them the activity, and they work at their own pace, and you can go back and see their answers and how they've responded. Instructor pace is cool too because this takes the place of your live lesson. Rather than me just presenting on a slideshow or presenting on a big screen, when I do instructor pace, I can be on my screen, but the kids also have the presentation on their screen. So when I get to an interactive slide where they get to answer, and then I can present their answers on the screen, and that's what makes it much more interactive. I'm going to choose student pace right now, just because we don't have a big classroom and a big screen and all that going on. It's going to launch my presentation here. Might take a few seconds because I had those interactive slides in there. Ones with the website, especially Google Earth. It's going to open up my teacher dashboard. One of the other cool things about Pear Deck is it gives you all kinds of little notes along the way and says, hey, go here if you need help with this. I'm going to click got it. I'm going to go to my teacher dashboard. Now I can copy the link to this presentation and give it to my kids. I can also assign it directly in Schoology. I'll show you that here in a second. But the basic and the most easiest way to share with your kids is to give them the link. When you present this on the screen, the kids will literally type in a link right here. There's the join code. I did it again. There's the join code, ZRNIHJ. You can actually present that on your board. I tend to just stick it in Schoology and have the kids sign up that way. Let me show you how this looks as a student. So what I need to do as a student is I need to drag some screens around here. All right. So as a student, I go to joinpd.com. Joinpd.com. Again, when you present this in your class, you can pop this up on your screen and show them that. I tend to put the link to joinpd.com right in my Schoology class. That way they can click that every day. And then they're just asking for those letters. The letters for this one was ZRNIHJ. And there's always some really cool acronym that kind of pops up and helps the kids remember those letters. I'm going to hit enter. And it should join the presentation we just made. Again, taking a little bit of time because I've got that Google Earth activity in there. Probably shouldn't have done that one. I appreciate your patience. Well, let's try this from a different device. So I'm going to go on to one of my other devices over here. Go to joinpd.com. There we go. That's my problem. It wasn't an I, it was an L. All right. Let's bring it back so you can see it. There we go. ZRNIHJ. All right, there we go. So all those questions we made, they're going to pop up right now, and this is how they will look as a student. So remember that basic text question we put on there. We said it was a text question. We said, what is your favorite color? You could have made that background whatever you want, but we were just being basic. A student would come over here, and they simply type blue. They could add another response if they have more than one response. Text questions allow kids to type whatever they want, whatever kind of text they want in here. These are great for asking what they know about a topic or questions like that, short answer questions at the beginning of the lesson. If I hit my next slide, here's the template we stole from Pear Deck. What is your favorite color? Remember, we changed that. You can come over here as a student and type blue or red or whatever your favorite color is. So that was the text slide. So here's the choice slide we added. So we said, what is your favorite color again? Now we made it a multiple choice question. It gives the kids a chance to select the multiple choice option on the right side of their screen. Here's the one we created from a template. Do you feel comfortable sharing your feelings? And here are the options that were created for this particular question. Absolutely, please call on me. You can make these questions whatever you like, but they give you these multiple choice options. So remember when we made our what is your favorite color, we got to type in all the options. Here's a number question. This is what they look like. This is our basic version. Enter the number 6. And here's the number question, and here was the cool version. I guess I never put a problem on there, but we'll put 6 in there too. That's the one using their template. This was the website question. And here's my flip grid. I've got a teacher from Southview that put hers, Southside, that put her flip grid in here. If I had this to a response page, students could respond in flip grid. So whatever website you use, you can embed it right in here. It'll go to that website. And the same is true here. Find this place on Google Earth, and you'll see Google Earth loads on my right side of my screen. When I click in here to Google Earth, it'll launch Google Earth and open this up in another tab. I'm not going to do that because that will take a long, long time. Google Earth is a big piece of software. Let's go to the next question. Here's one of my drawing questions. All right, drawing 3 plus 3. So what I like about this is if I have a touchscreen device, I can come in here and type with my finger. In this case, I'm doing it with my mouse. But my other favorite part about the drawing question is you can also click a text box. So anything you give them on the screen and you want them to respond, they can simply put a text box. They can put that text box anywhere. You can add multiple text boxes. So I know a lot of my font and spinel teachers, my elementary teachers, a lot of times we want the kids to put letters to fill out a word, or we want them to type a word. They can do that easily with the text box, and they don't have to draw with their cursor, even though it's called a drawing question. And then we can change the color of the pen here. Let's go to the next one. Here's that math one that we kind of took from Pear Deck. And again, I might come in here and add, there we go. I might add text boxes, or I can come in here and I can draw lines. I can change the thickness of that line. There we go. There's my sizer. I can change the thickness of that line. I can draw. I can do whatever I want on this drawing slide. Now, one thing you got to understand is think outside the box with this. Anything you can draw can make a Pear Deck slide. So I've seen connect the dots. I've seen graphing. I've seen draw a line to select this character with a character trait about that character. Even though they've got this example for you here, there's lots of different ways you can make this. Here's a draggable slide, and we're simply dragging and moving the dot. And I've seen this be, again, a grid. I've seen this coordinate graphing. I've seen it be a continuum. Drag the dot to show me how much or how little you know about a topic. Let's see their draggable. Here's their draggable question. And you got to drag to find Australia. You got to drag to find Europe. You got to drag to find Africa. And you got to drag to find Asia. So that is a draggable slide. So in a nutshell, that is all the slide types, all the question types in Pear Deck. So let's close this screen right here. Right. Now let's come back and look at my teacher dashboard, and you will see that I've got the answers from this student. I can go back as a teacher and I can grade this. I can leave feedback, and I can type a response for this student. I can click a star to star an answer, and I can hide that response. I can present them on the board if I'm presenting the class. There's Steve Spradlin's answer. There's blue. There's his choice. And you'll notice this is actually a graph here. So if you ask a survey question to your class and there's more than one response, it'll show you all those answers. Same thing with this multiple choice question. There's our number response, and it will actually give you a breakdown of all the number answers you got from your students. Let's go down here to website. There won't be much on a website response because that was literally just a link to a website. But there's my drawing. I can go through and see the drawing that every student made. So it's a really easy way to go back and see how they responded to the slide. And then there's the draggable. I can see where my students drug the dot. Did they put them in the right spot? Did they match the things they needed to match easily? So I can present these slides to students, and students can give them, I can see their responses right here on Pear Deck. All right, so let me show you some examples I've made in the past. I know we started with some basic stuff. I want to show you some I've made in the past. One kind of concept to think about when you're doing Pear Deck is how much or how little do you want to be interactive? It could be every single question like we just did, but it doesn't have to be. You can have some content, you can have some interactivity, and some content and some interactivity. So this is what we did for context clues in 6th grade, and I always like to put my standards on my slide. It's easy to share with other teachers this way. They know it's a presentation or a slide deck that they could use as well. And so this first slide right here is just a normal little slide. Context clues, it has my standards, it has a cool little picture, the end. If you look at slide 2, this is going to be, it says students choose an option. This is going to be a multiple choice slide. So when students answer this, they're going to get to choose. They either get the topic already, they don't get the topic, they have more questions about it. It's going to be a multiple choice slide. This is a really cool type of slide to be able to pop into any presentation to kind of take the temperature of your students and see what they know, what they don't know. Here's my next slide, and you'll notice I kind of stole their little icon. I started with their template. I changed it to my background to fit my presentation, but it's a written response question. What do you already know about context clues? This is a great starter slide for Pear Deck. Take the presentation you already have made and simply pop one of these in at the beginning to see students' knowledge at the beginning of your concept and the end. So my presentation that I created here was on context clues, and so I zoomed way in on this picture, and I made it a written response question, and the students had to all respond what they thought this was. And it's kind of fun because you could put it on the board and you can see everyone's responses and go through it, and someone said, oh, it's a bug's leg, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. And then when you go to my next slide, you'll see it's the zoomed in stem of an apple. And so we talk about context. So I have another slide here. Not a Pear Deck slide, just a content slide. I put my own stuff on here. Use context clues to ascertain the meaning. Cool. So here's my next slide. What does ascertain mean? And I used a written response slide. Slide after that, I just put the dictionary definition of ascertain. And then the next slide, I've got another student response slide. So I'm going back and forth between content, information I'm getting the kids, and then actual student answer slide. So one of the questions I saw in the chat said, where did you get the smiles? That's a really good question because I really just stole that from one of the templates over here in the template library. Sometimes you come in here, let's see, beginning of the lesson right here. They've got some really good templates right here. Is a draggable, how was the homework assignment? And you drag thumbs up or thumbs down. During the lesson slides, there's a true, false. I think they have one in here about how well, maybe it's at the end of the lesson. Yeah, there it is, the drawing slide. Or they actually turn this into a drawing slide, and so you circle the one you feel. So that's a really great question from the chat there. Some of the things like how well do you understand this, or what do you need to know more, or drag to whether it's a thumbs up or thumbs down. Some of this is already created over here in these templates. Use them to change the questions. You don't have to make those from scratch. Some of the things obviously I did. Other things I'm like, if I'm asking how well do you understand, I just changed the understand to how well do you understand context clues, and I used the slide that was already there. Good question. All right, so that's my context clues one. Here's my character traits one I made too. And I did the same concept. There's my topic. This was a 5th grade one I did. And I started with what does character traits mean? I always think that's a really good way to start so you can see what they already know about it. And they get to type it. You as a teacher can present this on the big board and show everyone's answers, or you can just kind of show it to yourself and not show it to the class. I prefer to put them on the screen. And one of the strategies I used last time I did this, and it was in this 5th grade class, there was a child in the back who just kept writing stuff that was not really appropriate for the presentation. And as a teacher, you can show those responses, you can hide those responses. With the Pear Deck Premium, you can see who those responses came from in your dashboard, so you can go get to them later. What I did was ignored it. I scrolled through the responses and ignored it. And the kids said, hey, did you see what? I said, no, we don't have time for that. We were not giving our energy to the inappropriate answers. Let's give our energy to the appropriate answers. And I scrolled through till I found a really good answer using really good words. And I said, who wrote this? And a little shy student from the back raised their hand. I said, that's a magnificent answer. I like your answer choice. And from that point on in my presentation, everyone was trying to emulate that child instead of emulate the child that was putting the naughty answers on there. So that was the strategy I chose. How well do you like this lesson? It's a drag icon. You drag the button right or left, wherever you want. And again, I just took that template from them. So some of these slides have my content. Some of these slides, I stole the content. I say steal, they're templates there for you. That's the cool thing about Pear Deck. You can use their templates they already have made. You can use their icons. You can use a lot of this stuff. And all you have to do is change the picture if you like, or just change the question itself, or change the question choices. So this was my context clues one. All right, so those are some I made. I want to show you something else I've been kind of playing with today. So in elementary, we've got these slides. A lot of our elementary teachers are using Fonts Pinel, and we're making slides that we can put on the board and we can present to our students during this reading lesson. And we kind of use this as kind of a backdrop. So when we're having our discussions we always have with our students, this can be on the board behind them and they can see. But when we do these Fontes and Pinel slides, there's always a couple slides in here that are interactive. Something that rather than showing on the board, I would get on my smart board and actually do something with. So this is one where the teacher is supposed to get on their smart board and underline prefixes, suffixes, and root words. And so they would get on their smart board with their pen and they would underline each part of that. However, the kind of cool thing about Pear Deck is I can take this presentation that's already made for me, open it up, click my little Pear Deck guy right here, and I can say, I'm going to take this a step further. Rather than popping up on my smart board and underlining it or having a kid come up and underline it, I'm going to take this bad boy and I'm going to click draw. I'm going to turn this into a draw slide. So now, there we go. This would be a draw slide. When the kids present this, or when I present this, start the lesson, and they go to joinpd.com, or they access it through Schoology to do this presentation, they'll use their little pens and they can underline the prefix, underline the root word, and underline the suffix. So I've taken this slide that's already been given to me for Fonts Pinel, and I've been able to harness the interactivity of Pear Deck to add more to it. I think that's kind of cool. There's another slide down here. All right. Stories can have more than one problem. There's the title, there's the problem. So what we would do in class is we would present this. A kid would tell me the answer. Hey, what's the problem in Lost Lake? Someone would raise their hand and I would write it on my smartboard, and we're kind of interactive. Or I'm going to choose draw again. I guess I could also choose words. I'm going to choose draw. And the reason I'm going to choose draw is because remember, we can put a text box. So now my students, when they open this up, they can drag a little text box right in here next to problems and type the problem to Lost Lake. They can add another text box for the other side, go in here and type the problems for other sides. So instead of me writing it on the board and one kid raising their hand answering, now everybody can answer these together. So what I wanted to point out with this is you're already using slideshows in many cases. So all I did was take this slideshow that was already made for me, and it took, what, a minute or two to take this slide that's already made and turn it into a drawing slide. And then I also made this slide a drawing slide. So that's one of my favorite things about Pear Deck. You can simply pop in a multiple choice anywhere, a link to a website. If you're doing a math presentation, you can turn a couple of these into answerable slides if you're doing math. So lots of cool things you could do with that. Other thing I want to point out on here, and I'm not going to demo this right now fully because we're running short on time, but we've talked about the template library a little bit. We've also talked about the different question types. I want to talk about this add audio to slide. So here's kind of the cool thing about the add audio to slide is you can already add audio to any Google Slides. If I come up here to insert, I can insert audio, but the problem is I have to record that audio somewhere. As a teacher, I've got to go use a wave maker or use some audio recorder to record that and dump it into my slide. But with Pear Deck, if I add audio to slide over here, I can take this and it will actually bring up a recorder right here that I can simply record and put this into the slide. So if I'm recording directions for a student, if we're doing a student-paced Pear Deck, I can add those directions right there into the slide. So I think that's kind of cool. I like Google, the fact that I can add audio to my Google Slides already, but I like it even better that I can click record and record it right from the slide presentation instead of having to go out and make it elsewhere. And then you can put your verbal directions right here on your slides, and that's going to make it even better to meet the needs of all students. And think about in a virtual environment too, where you might be having them do this as a student-paced activity. Having your words, having your instructions on there is another layer that's going to make it even better for your students. All right, let's see what other kind of stuff I have up here. All right, so let's do this. All right, so let's pop into Schoology here for a second. So one thing we talked about earlier is how do we get the students into our Pear Deck? Well, there's a couple ways we can present. It will literally put on the screen that acronym, those letters, and they just go to joinpd.com and they type those letters. That's one way. What I tend to do is I go right into my Schoology and I add Pear Deck as a link right away. So if I come in here and go to edit here, I have added joinpd.com. My kids would simply click that. It takes me to joinpd.com. And then whatever letters I've projected onto my screen, that's what they would type in to go do that. I could also send the link of the presentation itself right into Schoology. So let's come back here. There we go. And let's say I want to actually assign this character traits one. Now notice I'm in my Pear Deck right now instead of at Google Slides. You can go either way, but I'm going to say, let's take this character traits presentation and I want to start a session here. So I'm going to start a student paced session. That means they do it on their own time. And this is going to pop up. All right, it might take a few seconds. A lot of pieces of software working here to make this happen. And there we go. There's my dashboard again. Got it. And so I can go right to my teacher dashboard and see the responses, but you'll see right here it says copy link. If I copy that link, I can come right into my Schoology page, add a file, a link, an external tool, and I can paste that link right there. And students can take this character traits one, and they don't need to know what the letters are. They don't need to know any of that. Sorry, trying to do two things at once. Character traits. All right, and then I like to click this little guy right here that says, instead of display in Schoology, I like it to display in a new window. And I like that personally. You can do it either way. I like it personally because it's going to open a fresh tab and it's going to be nice and big. And I didn't spell traits right. I apologize. It's going to make it nice and big for the kids to respond to it. So there's my character traits, and I click that, and it's going to take me right to my presentation. And you'll notice that it's already signed in up here. Boom, and I'm ready to go as a student. So I really like adding the links in Schoology that way. Now, the other thing we can do in Schoology, and this is something I just turned on today. If you go to add materials and add file link external tool, because we have the full version of Pear Deck, you can choose external tool. You can choose Pear Deck, and then you can put a title of a Pear Deck here. So let's use my context clues. And what I like about this is you can actually grade this. Now, I say grade loosely because it's made an activity in Schoology and it's made a spot in your grade book in Schoology. There's nowhere in Pear Deck to actually give points for each question. So you basically would have a grading spot there in your Schoology grade book that you could attach points to. So if a kid finished it, you could give them 10 points, but you're not going to be able to granularly give points for each question because that doesn't exist in Pear Deck. So let's just make a Pear Deck category real quick and submit it. There we go. And so then what I would do as the teacher the very first time is I would go click this bad boy. And once I click it the very first time, it's going to ask me to choose what I want to make, which presentation I want to make into this Pear Deck. I select a file from my drive, and then it's going to open to my Google Drive, and I go select my content, my context clues presentation, or whatever presentation I want. And you don't see my other screen popping up. Let's see if I can bring it back. There we go. That's my other screen that popped up. But here's my Google Drive. I would go in here and I would choose my context clues or whatever Pear Deck that I would want to present to the kids. So you can do it that way too. It's very easy to just tell the kids to go to joinpd.com and give them the acronym, especially if you're doing it in class. That's probably my favorite way because it's kind of fun putting those letters on the board anyway. One good shortcut idea is to just make a link in your Schoology to Pear Deck to joinpd.com to save them, one click at least, to save them from having to type that, and then just present the acronym. But if you're doing a student-paced learning, you're not going to be live to show them, you can add it with the external tool, but I like to just add it as a link too. Just go ahead and copy that link and pop it right into Schoology. I think that works just as well too. So those are all the different ways I can share that. Got about 13 minutes left. Let me go back to my outline and see if I've covered everything. We've talked about the different resources on the Schoology webpage. We talked about the add-on for Pear Deck, and then we went through the question types. Now, let's go back to my practice one here. Remember what we did with the question types. It was kind of boring at first because we were literally just using their question types over here, and we were adding stuff in here. You can put whatever you want on this slide. I just used basic questions because I want you to know that you can take whatever you want and turn it into a text, a multiple choice question, a number question, a website link, a drawing. And remember, drawing, you can actually put a text box too. Sometimes it's not always easy to draw with your mouse or draw with your finger, but a text box you can add to just about anything for an answer, or a draggable question. So you can make that out of just about anything. But remember, you can also come over here to their template library and take some templates they already have made. Change the question, change the picture, change the background, just don't change the type of response. Keep that bar down here. You can do that with just about any question. There's a lot of things they already have pre-made for you. Now, with that being said, I want to go to, let's close this, end. All right, end without naming. Now you can name your sessions, and what's cool about naming your sessions is you can always come back and open them up again, and you can present them again. You can go back and look at student responses again. That's one of the benefits of having the premium version of Pear Deck is I can come in here to Pear Deck. Up here at the top, I can click Sessions. And you'll see I have lots of these today as I'm practicing. And I can open these sessions and go see the student responses again. I can also go in here and present these again if I want to present it again. And then you can archive them when you don't want to see them anymore. All right, so while we're here, let's look at the Pear Deck website again. Pear Deck for Google Slides. If you click create a lesson right here, it's simply going to open Google Slides for you. You can also just start it fresh from Google Slides, up to you. Remote learning resources, always click around at some of this stuff because you've got the Orchard here, you've got help videos, you've got webinars, you've got lots of stuff that people made already. And I think one of the questions in the chat said, can we filter these by grade levels and subjects? Kind of. You look at the templates over there, there were some by subject already. When you go into the templates, I think they're by different topics. And you might find some stuff here in the Orchard where people have it by a certain grade level or certain concept already. Some of this stuff transcends grade level too. So I know there's some of the continuums. How do you feel about the topic? You'll find those in like beginning of lesson activities all the time. I've seen a few Venn diagrams. If you go to reading, you'll find all kinds of Venn diagrams. Regardless of what level you're doing, you can change that to suit your needs, but you'll find some Venn diagrams in reading. Other things I want to show on this screen are these two guys right here. I spent a little bit of time with these today. Now, I'm not going to go deep into the Pear Deck vocabulary, but this is kind of cool. The reason I want to go too deep into it is because when you make this, it creates it as a GimKit. And GimKit is another website. It's kind of like Quizzes and kind of like Kahoot, where you can play like live games with your students. I love GimKit, but GimKit has recently changed their pricing model. So it's going to be hard for me to promote and say, hey, go do this. I've not played with it enough. I have my own version of GimKit, so I've not played with it yet on a free version or a non-paid version of GimKit to see if it still works. But it's kind of a cool concept. And you could even do this without sending it to GimKit, really. When you go to Pear Deck Vocabulary, they've got this cool little thing going on. I guess I am going to click it. It's kind of fun. It's called the Vocabulary Factory. And you put all your words in there, and it has a dictionary linked to it already. So when you put like the word chlorophyll in here and you click definition, it pops up for you. And so what you do is you create all the words and definitions you want, and it's a factory. It sends these to the kids, and you make teams. And the kids then have to draw pictures that go along with each vocabulary word. Then they have to add an example of each vocabulary word, and then they ship it back to you. And then you okay them, and then you ship it on to Gimkit to do slideshows out. So it's kind of cool because there's a whole process of you give them words, they make pictures, they make examples, you check them off, and so they're kind of making vocabulary words. So I definitely encourage you to look at that, and if you want to know some more about that too, check some of the Pear Deck help sources and see what they say about that. My big hang up on the vocabulary was the fact I had to present it with Gimkit at the end, and I really like Gimkit, but we don't have a paid version of Gimkit, so I want to try that on a free account sometime. The other thing I liked in here a lot was these pop-up activities. So you saw all those different templates, and I've had different people ask on this presentation about different templates already. Some of these are already here for you. So if I click choose a prompt, maybe, there we go, choose a prompt, it's going to bring up some of these slides right here by themselves. Sorry, taking a little bit of time again. There we go. And there's some beginning, during, and end of the class activities already popped up for you. And what I like about this is designed to do a quick activity in class. So maybe you don't have time to make a presentation. Maybe you don't want to go in and make a whole slideshow. But here's a KWL chart. I simply go in here and I say, yep, I want to do that. Boom. There's the link right there. The kids go to joinpd.com that I've already linked into their Schoology, and this is what's going to be on my board right now. EMVDCB, exothermic muffins victoriously drive confused bandanas. Students will type that in, boom, they'll join that session, and it's not a whole slideshow, it's this one slide. So that's kind of what I like about this. It's taken some of those really good templates that we can use at almost any grade level, and it said, what if I just want to, on the spur of the moment, pop this on the screen right now and get student responses? You can do that without having to make the whole fancy presentation and dump it into Schoology and do all that. You can come right here to these pop-up activities, I believe is what they're called. Yep, pop-up activities, and they've got some of those little templates that are great for bell ringers, great for exit tickets, great for those sorts of things. I think personally, if I were a teacher, I'd probably make a presentation because there's other content I want on there, but I could also see myself using this. I could see myself going, I want to ask a question and I don't want you to raise your hand, or I want more than one response. And I can see myself popping in here and doing one of these real quick, especially these little guys over here, the draggables, where do you agree or disagree, or is it true or false, or what do you want, or draw on the grid. So these little pop-up activities are really cool. All right, it's 4:24. So let me go back and look at my agenda. So one thing I got to point out is there will be some opportunity for training from Pear Deck, and I think some of you have gotten that already. They'll be sending you some emails, and there's lots of stuff on the Pear Deck website to show you. Again, I just kind of wanted to walk through today and show you how to make stuff from Google Slides. Google Slides is kind of my specialty. So that's why Pear Deck's kind of cool to me, because I can take what I'm already pretty good at, making a slideshow and making cool stuff in Google Slides, and I can add the fun stuff with Pear Deck. And I really like this picture here. Like, that's how I feel about this. I love Google Slides, and Pear Deck gives me one more tool to add to it. But I wanted to just walk you through the website, walk you through some of the resources where you can see it. And it's a good way for me to kind of get refreshed with Pear Deck too, so I can answer some of your questions. And like I said, there are many things out there, many ways you can go deeper with that. You can learn from that Pear Deck website. There's a Pear Deck blog on there. You're going to do things that I've not even thought about yet in Pear Deck. And that's what's kind of cool about this technology thing, is you'll do something you think is really neat with a piece of software, and then you'll watch another teacher do something even cooler, or do something different with it. And I was like, ooh, that's kind of nice. That's kind of fun too. So Pear Deck is definitely what I consider like a skeleton piece of software. We're using Google Slides that we all know how to use and we all have access to, and we're asking basic question types: text, multiple choice, number, draw, draggable. What you do with those basic question types is up to you, though. You can make crazy continuums that you can drag. You can use draw to label pictures. You can use draw to have the students draw. You can use draw to connect dots. You can use that basic functionality to do everything. And if you're not that creative to think of the ways to use it, again, go over here to the template library, go look at some of these example questions, and go, oh, that's a cool way to use draw. That's probably one of my other favorite things about Pear Deck is I'll go in here and look at these and go, oh, I didn't think about drawing that, or using the draw to circle something, or to underline a part of speech, or to highlight something. I didn't think about that. And then you can go back and make your own slide or use their template. I did demo as a student a little bit here. I got a few devices, but I don't want to get you too bogged down either. Uses. So one thing I like about Pear Deck as far as use is you can doctor up the slideshows you already have. If you've got presentations you've used before, add interactivity to it. And that's one of my favorite things too, is the F&P slides that we're teaching with already, and we're trying to make interactive slides, and boom, you have a piece of software with one click. The kids can now type on said slide or drag and move or do whatever. And that goes for all kinds of stuff you're teaching with. Pear Deck website itself, it has your teacher dashboard where you can see student responses. You can go through and see what they've put. You can see common errors. You can present it on the board if you'd like. Sometimes you can choose to present that on your screen and go over students' answers with them, or you may keep them to yourself. I know a teacher asked me the other day about doing a like Padlet where kids put Post-it notes on something, kind of like this KWL chart here where every kid gets to respond. And Padlet is blocked on our network. And then there's other pieces of software that do that. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. You can use the functionality of Pear Deck to do that same thing. You put a KWL chart on there, turn it into a text question, or turn it into a drawing question. Every student can go put their response on your KWL chart or your essay question or whatever it is. You can still get student responses. You can show student responses on your screen to everybody in class. It can be used as virtual learning, and there's lots of virtual learning resources here on the Pear Deck website. I implore you to look at those because there's probably lots of different ways you can use it in a virtual situation or a distance situation. I've only used this live and in person with kids. It's kind of fun. It's kind of like having your own game show. But because there's a student-paced version of this, you could assign it on Schoology. You could have them work through it on their own as well. And so I implore you to look into that too. And then finally, the two extras I learned about today, because again, I always had the free version of Pear Deck until now, and the two extras I learned about today are the Pear Deck vocabulary, which is really kind of cool. Dig into that, but I want to play with that and see how that works on a non-full GimKit account. But then the pop-up activities, some of those sample template slides that we want to use are right there as a pop-up activity that you simply click, boom, and assign, and you don't have to put it as part of a presentation. All right, that wasn't the prettiest presentation at all, but we did go through Pear Deck and show you lots of different information about it. I am going to stop my recorder, possibly. There we go. I'm going to stop my recorder.